Hello and welcome to Hedge Witch Herbarium. I'm Kelly and I'm sharing a little bit of a story about what happened to me with my trauma processing and how I faced the demons, as it were, at the beginning of the year in January at the Penwell Ridge Retreat Center in Ashland City, Tennessee. And it was an experience. I didn't know what I was doing. I was dragging myself through the mud just to get everything out, to have a look at it and finally deal with it after all these years. But I wanted to just briefly touch on what happened, just like anybody else, going through the motions, ignoring the past trauma, just absorbing it and trying to do the best I could, not realizing that I was sort of frog marching myself into a downward spiral, which finally culminated last year in 2024 in December, where I'd had for the first time a nervous breakdown. And throughout my life I'd always thought that people who talk about having nervous breakdowns just couldn't handle it, and didn't actually believe there was such a thing. There's either panic attacks or anxiety or depression, but when I went through it myself I really learned that yes, even though I've had panic attacks before, this was really surreal. It was triggered by a lot of different things, especially demands at work and things going on at home with our cats, having to get one of them fixed, and just one thing after another. And it's funny how just one little thing can trigger you, but it was the expectations, not only from people at work, but the clients we serve, as well as expectations at home. And it tied into past trauma, having to be the one to keep everything rolling while my mother drank heavily. And she was also a narcissistic. Now, she passed away in 2023, and I thought I'd processed it, but there was so much that was like a monkey on my back, or several monkeys on my back, because when I finally crashed in December, it wasn't like a normal, oh, I'm just going to go and lie down in bed and just go to sleep and try to work my way through it. I felt like I was never hitting bottom. It was like flailing my arms and legs and not having anything to grab onto. It was the most terrifying experience. And it went for 2 days. And I was beside myself. And I realized that something had to give. So I started some therapy through BetterHelp, and I'm still doing that with my lovely therapist. But then I decided I needed to go on a retreat somewhere where I could be on my own for a few days, just to finally get it out and figure out what was wrong with me and how I could pave a new way forward. So I scheduled a 2-day retreat at the Penwell Ridge Retreat Center in Ashland City, and it turned out I was going to be there all on my own on 130 acres. Beautiful property, wonderful experience. I'm going to share some video here in a minute of the different things that I did there, as well as my mental state as I was going through it. But I pretty much just dragged myself over the coals. I didn't have any plan when I went. What I was doing was just, I knew I had to get everything out and figure out what was wrong with me. I just didn't know how. And even though I had started therapy, I didn't really have the tools, although I've read psychology, researched psychology my whole life, and understood that I just had to get it out no matter how. And I brought my tarot cards with me. I decided I was going to do some meditation, some journaling, and so on. And when I got there, I was just in a manic level. I was like fever pitch. I couldn't sleep the whole 2 days. I couldn't eat. I could drink tea. And I was just manic, but it was incredible because I needed to be in that state like a cracked vessel for everything to come flowing out of me, and it did. The first night there, I wrote 14 pages of just whatever. It just came pouring out of me, past stuff, the issues with how we were brought up, an absent father, people standing around knowing what was going on. Now mind you, there was no SA, there was no molestation, although there were attempts, and I was able to fight them off, and one day I'll talk about that. But I realised while I was there at the Ridge so much had happened and had built up inside me that I'd become like a gnarled fist. I was angry, reactionary. I was always defensive, thinking people were coming at me, trying to attack me, especially clients at work. People coming at you with their arms outstretched, help me, fix my life. I was done with it. Because people don't ever take responsibility for their own stuff, and I never projected, or I don't think I did either, at least deliberately project my trauma on other people. I was tight-lipped. I didn't really tell people unless I really got to know them. So for people to come at me and do that, I found it was rude, it was uncultured or whatever, but not realizing myself that everybody's at a different phase in their lives and how they deal with their trauma. So that was something I had to learn really quickly. But funnily enough, I did learn, and I'm going to now go on and share what I went through at the Penrall Ridge Retreat Centre last time. And when we come out the other side, I'm going to talk about what I'm hoping to do this time, because I'm going again next week for 2 days, and this time it's not going to be facing my demons or anything. It's going to be just to chill, relax, meditate, and discover where I'm going, who I am, and what I'm doing, not only with this channel but with my life. What was I meant to do? What was I meant to be here? I'm also going to talk about the aftermath of what happened after the retreat these months since January this year, 2025, how the healing has just really just gotten better and better, and I'm in such a different headspace now that I was back then. And just as a side note, I had been for years and years quite atheistic, really not so much anti-spiritual, because I believe spirituality is different, because religion is just spirituality dogmatized. But reconnecting with the earth and opening back up, it was just really an incredible experience. But I'll catch you on the other side. Even though there were times that I freaked out at the centre, I was actually freaked out the whole time, but I took a lot of video and I've shared that on the other channel I have, but there were some emotions that came up from facing the darkness and the stuff from my past that I just really hadn't dealt with before, and it was just really awful but necessary at the same time. So I had breakdowns, journal writing. I wrote 14 pages in one night, just almost like vomiting the words out, and I called it a spiritual vomitorium because those 2 weeks were really intensive, but it really unearthed a lot of things that I wasn't aware had affected me so deeply since childhood. And I'm grateful now that I'm in a much better place, but back then I really was in dire straits, especially not eating or sleeping for the weekend. I plan to revisit the mendicant women, who I've learned a lot more about when it comes to serving others and compassion towards others. At the time I was not having it because that was my problem, other people. But it's interesting how I've learned since then that we all are here to help each other, those at least who are worthy of it. So, and those statues really did make me feel like I was looking at different versions of myself. And of course I saw myself in a statue, the one that's got its back to us. It was me. It was like they used me as the model for that statue, but also my mother in the back there hiding as well. It was just really interesting. The Dorothy Day cottage, I one day will come and stay there, but I plan to explore the property again when I go back to the retreat, but I will be staying there in that main retreat house. And this is where I had the long walk to the well. I was dragging my feet, I was crying, I did not want to face myself, meditate or anything, but I knew it had to be done in order to just get all the dreck out of my soul. It was really heavy, this walk to the well, which is a circular building where you can go and do meditation and different kinds of work. Beautiful spot, and I look forward to seeing it in the spring or close to summer now, because back then it was winter, and I feel like my footsteps will be a lot lighter this time around. I also plan to light a fire and do a ritual where I can sort of, fire up my creativity and burn off any old residue that doesn't serve any purpose anymore. I was too chicken to light a fire at that time, but I think I'll be okay, and I'll just keep it small. This is inside the well where I did the meditation. Again, I was kind of breaking down as I took this video, but next time I go again, I'm going to be a lot lighter and it will be a lot better, I think. And at the waterfall, of course, I meditated on the idea of the free-flowing water being like my emotions that were coming out of me at the time, but then you've still got those frozen sections of the cascades there, which I think represented how some things were still waiting to be unearthed. So that was a really lovely experience, but I look forward to seeing it now in the spring, and I look forward to sharing that, of course, once I get back. But it's just a beautiful place with all these different niches and places. And this magnolia tree really spoke to me. I just feel like it had something to do with my mother. I was connected to it. She loved port wine magnolia. And there's the well, of course, at the back. And this is in the lower room where I did a tarot reading. It had a very interesting, peaceful yet strange and still atmosphere. But I will be doing readings down there again when I return. It's a beautiful spot. And of course, my morning cup of tea with the birds, watching them feed with each and flying around. It just reminded me of the flow, the ebb and flow of life. And it kind of taught me a lesson. You know what, no matter what, you still got to be in it. And it's just also a very peaceful little moment there, sitting in front of the window and just watching them. I had to learn how to be still. It was a very different experience for me, and I look forward to, now that I'm in a different place, enjoying it from a different perspective. But those birds were absolutely lovely. There was finches and there was woodpeckers and looked like, what do you call them? The little quails and things. Just wild birds flying in and feeding. It was just beautiful. And I'll apologise for my cat sneezing here, sitting next to me. She can't handle me talking without her being with me. But anyway, looking out that window, it's in winter, believe it or not, but I'm assuming it'll be a lot greener when I go back this time, and really look forward to it. This was the bedroom I stayed in. It was a 2-bed bedroom, and I had a desk. I'm going to stay in this room again this time, and the reason why it's a bit fuzzy, I had smeared some sauce on the lens. Even though I didn't eat my meal, I'd inadvertently done it. And this is the dining room inside the main retreat house, looking up into the kitchen where I'll be doing some medicine making in there before the cooking for the deities videos I'm going to be releasing. Beautiful tree there. But just a lovely space. There's upstairs where you can stay. That's the little desk where they've got the weather radio and the phone. Reception there wasn't that good. But there is the day room. It's just a beautiful space to write, to sit there and have a cup of tea or meditate. And I love that there's no TVs. Okay, so now we're on the other side, and I wanted to go into the aftermath of what happened once I returned from the Penwell Ridge Retreat Centre. I knew I'd unearthed the things that I had realised, and I kept unearthing as the months went by, and spoke with my therapist about the trauma, the complex post-traumatic stress disorder, because it went on for years and years. But what I had to first do was start setting boundaries with people who were always coming at me expecting I'm the Mrs. Fix-It, I'm the one who does it. Every time something happens, go and tell Kelly. And I was sick of that. I was sick because I had that when I was a kid. My mum put me in charge as if I was the mother, because she was never capable when she was drunk to do anything, and she was very vicious. And just anyway, I'm not going to go into that because I've talked about it on other videos on my other channel called Portal Stormer. But what happened was I got back and I realised I've got to start setting boundaries. I've got to stop letting the narcissists and the dry beggars and the people who like to project their trauma onto you. Make sure that I'm not letting them in, or at least close enough to affect me. So that was interesting because it unearthed a lot of rage in me that I didn't know was there, even though it had come out in spurts and fits and starts, because I do know that I have a harsh tongue and I can be very cutting. But to try to, as that was flowing out of me after the retreat, coming back, setting boundaries and seeing everybody as someone who had to be blocked. And I went through a lot in those first, I would say, 6 weeks after I returned, learning how to regulate my behaviour. But the intense anger that I had, unexpressed rage, because I was never able to say how I felt when we were younger. We were always told, don't use that tone, watch your mouth, whatever. And I'm very grateful that I never went through SA or molestation, even though people tried to do that. I was just lucky enough to have women around me who helped me develop those skills in terms of not getting myself into situations and also learning how to get myself out of them. But what I did as I went through those couple of months of really intense rage, and you know, that's really difficult to hold that all in while you're trying to be all nice and helpful to people while you're at work as well as at home. I found, I discovered I had ADHD, which is why I feel intense rage when people interrupt me when I'm doing something creative, because to me it's like you not only not care about me, or you're dismissing my creative interests, but you're also just putting me to a use. You know, I'm just the person who come and do this, fix that, what are we doing about this? Anyway, that's a side issue. But when it came to dealing with the rage, one thing that I did was reconnect with my Chinese astrological sign, which is the horse and element fire. And I really felt this connection to the fire horse, because to me it was about transmuting that rage and you know, bringing it into my purview when I needed to. Like, I used the fire horse, I imagined turning around and facing the fire horse and it absorbing my rage, at least helping me leech it away from me. And as a side note, my north node in astrology is Taurus, so my south node is Scorpio. So coming out of those Scorpion fires was interesting. I'm just wanting to reach Taurus, the blue, clear, calm waters of Taurus. I'm a Virgo myself with a Gemini ascendant. But what I did was I reconnected with the fire horse and used AI to put together some images for me as a prompt, and also shared on the other channel I have, on Portal Stormer, I have a playlist that's called Dealing with Darkness, because at the time I really was going through it. So I'm going to put a link in the description if you wanted to go over and hopefully subscribe to that channel, although I am focusing a lot more on this channel. But I dealt with the fire horse, and here I'm going to share just a little snippet of how I used AI to finally develop the imagery and video for me to help absorb that fire. So I used AI to try to come up with images of the fire horse, and of course the images were all young, beautiful women, so I did this one with silver hair. But none of them really jumped out at me, even though they're beautiful images. I wanted something to reflect myself as an older woman, turning around and facing the darkness. So I finally settled on this image, and created this video, which is something that I use to meditate on when I do have to turn around and face some other stuff that unearthed. Okay, so that was the fire horse, and it really helped me deal with the rage that came through. As I said, the first couple of months after the retreat was intense. And as I was processing that and the trauma and learning about the different things about myself that I'd discovered, like being a highly sensitive person, about having ADHD, cptsd, and all the other acronyms you can think of, although I'm not the sort of person who likes to turn all those things into my identity. That's not who I am. I want to move on from that. I don't want to ever have to go back to that. There's a lot of people who like to, that's their shtick, that's all they talk about is their trauma, and it gets really monotonous after a while. That's why I do a lot of this other content, which has been an outflowing of my spirituality since I shrugged off the atheist tendencies and got back into witchcraft. And I've always felt like I'm a witch. I've been doing herbalism and enjoyed doing all the magical things that are attached to that. And I really opened up at the retreat where I realized I had shut myself off. Not only had I closed off to other people, but I'd closed off to source, or whatever you want to call it. But there was one morning I woke up, I remember it was a Wednesday morning, it was a couple of months after the retreat, where I was lying in bed getting ready to get out and go to work, girding my loins to meet all the hungry ghosts. And I all of a sudden thought about my mother, in particular a photo which I'll show here of her and I when I was about 20, and we were at a club, and Adelaide Girls, and anyway that picture actually came into my mind as I woke up in the morning. I was lying there contemplating it, contemplating her, everything she'd been through, what made her do what she did with us kids. And it was quite intense, and the way it flowed on to affect both my brothers. One of them died in 97 of a heroin overdose. My other brother Lucas died of alcoholism a few weeks ago, and I'm the only one left in that immediate family. And I contemplated all that, but I also thought about her having to go through, she lived in a home from an early age because her mother and father both died, and there was many kids in the family, and because she was one of the three youngest, she was sent off to the home, and she'd spent there from about the age of, I think, 4 or 5 right up until 16 years of age. She'd been through a lot in that home and had gone through a lot. No excuse for what she did to us with her drinking and her disappearing and her emotional and psychological abuse of us. But I thought about that as I was lying in bed, and I just felt my heart opening up and just thought, I will never get over this unless I forgive her. That's not the same for everybody. She never physically hurt us, and she was the first one to jump in to defend us if something bad was happening to us, but then she reserved the right to be the one to do it to us. So it was like a two-edged sword. But for me personally, that forgiveness was really just for me, because I knew that burning, that rage was doing harm and had been doing harm for years and years. So I opened up and I smiled and I said to myself, okay, that was then, this is now. She's gone, she's passed. I need to make peace with this so I can move on. Otherwise, I'm just going to be in that cycle where I'm talking about it all the time. So it was really interesting what happened there, because I felt the heart chakra opening up. I started being a little bit more compassionate towards people and trying to see things from their perspective. And it's interesting how that flowed on. The more I opened up, the more compassionate and understanding I was, while still maintaining the boundaries that I needed to for certain types. It changed my perspective in terms of how I saw people. I didn't see everybody as an enemy, somebody who was going to attack me, so I better attack them first. I was able to rise above it, which has been really fascinating, because that's really been a healing thing for me, to the point where I'm at a position now where I feel like I'm taking a bird's eye view. understanding all sides of the picture before I make a decision, and not being so reactionary, not jumping to conclusion, and not being so prepared to attack like a scorpion tail poised or a snake ready to strike. Because that would scare people off and confuse people. If sometimes I was okay, I realised those mood swings had to cease. And it's amazing how just opening up the heart, forgiving, and forgiving myself, because I'm no angel, but forgiving myself in terms of how I'd allowed it to become such a negative aspect in my life. The depression, I've gone through years and years and years of it. And it dawned on me, in order to heal others, I have to heal myself first. So that was the first step. And understanding the fluidity of chaos and control, it was something I was really, for some reason, stuck on it while I was at the retreat, thinking about how we're always striving for everything to be 100% good, and that's not going to happen. Chaos and order are the impetus for things to start, for life. If we can't have life without those polarities, and it sounds terrible because we're always striving for goodness, of course, but that understanding that life is like that, and to not be so obsessed with it. Like I couldn't sleep because I'd be thinking about the horrors of the world and getting all locked up in that, realizing afterwards, after the retreat, that the reason why I did that was to escape focusing on the trauma I should have been focusing on. So that was interesting. But I'm going to share something here just to show my concept of how I was trying to grasp with the with chaos and control, ebb and flow, yin and yang, whatever. And I actually called this symbol I created with it's the yin and yang symbol incorporated in the infinity symbol. And it was just for me to try to understand how I can't ever be so extreme in expecting that things will be 100% good, because sometimes you've got to take the negative stuff. Not every day, every minute there's ups and downs. So I'm going to break here again so you can see what I was talking about. So when I started thinking about chaos and order, I first thought of the yin and yang symbol and how it all bleeds into each other, but that wasn't satisfactory, so I included it with the infinity symbol, which helped explain to me how it's all part of the same game. Okay, so now I wanted to go on and talk about what I'm planning going forward, not only for me in my life, but this channel. Still in the job that really brings a lot of stress for me, but it's interesting how I'm coasting above all that now. Still looking for another job, hopefully a remote job doing content creation. I'm a writer too, of course. I'm a fantasy author of the Storming Archives and other books, which you can see in the link in my channel bio. But I wanted to leave it, but I'm hesitant to apply. It's been really interesting. I want to leave this job so bad, but I'm very ultra fussy about what I jump ship for, because I don't want to be jumping out of the frying pan into the fire. I had hoped that the channel would go better, and that was the other channel, Portal Stormer. But I was very hodgepodge on that channel. I didn't know what I was doing, but it was just get it out there. But once I realised I've got to go back to what I love, which is herbalism, and then through that being a witch, finally accepting, yes, that's who I am. I've been a witch all my life, I know it, but it's just weird how I blocked it off for so many years. But I'm trying to figure out my purpose and what I want to do in life. This is what I want to do. I love herbalism. I'm going to be sharing content about making medicine as well as using it in ritual. I love every aspect of it. And I tend to be one of those types of people. I'm a 9 destiny, so that's in numerology. So I'm all encompassing. I have to research everything to death. But I'm planning when I go to the Penrell Ridge Retreat Centre next week. What I'm planning to do is I'm going to be doing a lot of content, but for me, it's this time around, I'm not dragging myself over the coals. I'm enjoying myself, I'm relaxing, I'm meditating. I'm going to be doing things like foraging, so that'll be fun. I'll be sharing that with you. Cooking for the deities, and what I'm going to be doing is actually 2 medicines I'll be creating while I'm there, and I'm including that in the Cooking for the Deities series. But what I'm going to be making, the first one is I call Mushmallow, which is mushrooms and maple syrup and other goodies like cinnamon chips in the medicine, which is an adaptogen, and it's mushrooms that of course we all know now are excellent for us, but it's medicine to help maintain the equilibrium, so my ups and downs won't be like sharp jabs. They'll be I'll just be able to coast. And I've taken it before, I've made it before when I did the herbal course with the Chestnut School of Herbal Medicine. And this medicine's been very good for me. When I give it to friends who've said the same thing. It just helps maintain the equilibrium so they can ride the waves without falling into a deep pit. So that's what I'm going to be making, and I'm going to be consecrating it to Kanunos. It just felt right when I was looking at all the deities that I thought I might like to consecrate the medicine to, and because he is the Lord of the forest and animals and fertility and fecundity, or whatever you call it, it just felt right with the mushrooms for some reason. So I'm consecrating that medicine to him, and that's going to be a decoction which is simmered over a low heat for 6 to 8 hours. Another thing I'm going to be making is what I call liver lover, and it's a medicine for the liver that you only have to put 3 drops under the tongue 20 minutes before you eat to help get it started. When I first made it and started using it, I was really surprised. I was able to hear the gurgling of my organs moving. It was really weird. But it's also great to take if you're going through some indigestion, and it also apparently helps with fatty liver. Now, I don't know if I have fatty liver, but being a Virgo, I always think I have everything as soon as I read it. But I am trying to make my eating habits better, and that's going to be one thing, is making sure that my liver is taken care of, because your liver also processes the hormones. And I have hypothyroidism, so I'm hoping that will flow on to help with that. Again, other things I'm doing is tarot readings. I'm going to be writing some poetry, so I might even recite that for you and share it here, especially dedicated to deities of my choice, or the Lord and Lady. The liver lover, just by the way, is going to be consecrated to Kedadwen. I think of her with her cauldron, and I just feel, I don't know why, with the liver medicine it just felt right. And of course, you don't have to explain yourself if it feels right to you. You do it. If you make these medicines that I share, you can consecrate them to whoever you want. I'm going to be doing meditation, like I said. I'm going back into the well. I'm going to be walking the labyrinth again. Now, when I walked the labyrinth last time, as I walked all the way in, I raged about my mother, our past, the things that I'd gone through in my life. But on the way out, it was amazing, the release of all that in terms of the negative self-talk that I was doing a lot of. I've had really bad episodes of negative self-talk, stopping short of actually really hurting myself. Something else I'm going to do is the fire pit, and I'm going to be doing a ritual to eradicate what no longer serves me. Also, a summoning ritual using the fire horse to summon up the fire of creativity, and that's going to be really exciting. And I'll share content afterwards, of course. And for me this year, numerologically, it's a 5 personal year, which is a really great year. It's usually the best year to have. And even though I've been through a lot, it's been really positive. It's amazing just in 6 months how different I am, and how different I feel towards my life and other people. And I hope this evolution continues, and I hope to continue sharing it, especially along with the content that I'm planning to share with you guys, whether it be the medicine making, whether it's the continual videos about herbal profiles and animal totems and the magic of stones, bones and fossils. And my hopes for next year, for 2026, are going to be shared with you as we go along this year, creating my garden, developing the products that I want to sell, as well as the cooking for the deities and many other little series that I have. I'm going to continue doing the healing for the crone, but I realized there's not going to be a lot of people who will get anything out of that, so I thought I'd do some herbal healing for people any age, whether you're a mother, maiden or crone, or if you're a guy, if you're whoever you are, medicine for everybody. And I will also be doing some tarot readings and sharing them. I'm sort of a bit shy about that sometimes because I'm not like the other great tarot readers on YouTube, and I don't know how I do it. I'm still one of those people who's stuck on the idea that you've got to be with a person to do a reading for them, but that's not always the case. But anyway, thanks for staying with me and listening to this, and stay tuned for the week after next, where I'll start releasing the video of all the wonderful content I'll create while I'm at the Penwell Ridge Retreat Centre. And if you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. This is only a small channel, but I really appreciate the 63 so far subscribers I have. So thank you, and take care of yourselves out there in this nutty world, and blessed be.